Today on Classic Kills Top 10, we're going to cover the 10 most common phobias. Number 10, acrophobia. This is a condition where an individual experiences an intense fear of heights. Most people have a normal fear of heights. You know, you take off in an airplane and you look how high you're up in the sky and you get a little nervous, or you're climbing a mountain or even a flight of steps to a 20, 30-story building and you look out the window. Oh, so high up, right? A lot of phobias start at a young age and then grow into adolescence and then your young teen years and follows into your adulthood. And this is definitely one of them. Some of the things that a person with acrophobia might be afraid of is roller coasters, crossing over a bridge, multi-level parking garages, or even a tall ladder. Acrophobia is pretty common, with 3 to 6% of people having it. Number 9, aerophobia, the fear of flying. Now, I know this is a pretty common one. There's a lot of people I know and people I've met in life that say they will not get on an airplane, or they've only been on an airplane once or twice because it freaks them out every time they get on it. For some people, it's the takeoff that gives them the most fear. For others, it's the landing. I'd say for me, myself, not scared of flying at all. I've been on many flights, but I will say that takeoff initially when I was younger, that takeoff was kind of nerve-wracking, especially if it was a shaky plane. You know, you're like, am I gonna get all the way off the ground, or is this thing coming down? You know, the fear of flying is so common in America that it's estimated 25 million adults suffer from it. Number 8, arachnophobia, fear of spiders. The fear of spiders that becomes a phobia is when you are afraid to even have interactions or conversation about it. Say you're hanging out with friends or family and they happen to tell a story about an interaction with a spider. Maybe they saw one in their house, in their kitchen, in their bedroom, and you start to get nervous, you start to get shaky, your skin starts to itch. That's when you have a phobia. Some of the things that can trigger a person with arachnophobia are the sight of a spider, conversation of a spider's web, or even just the thought of seeing a spider. Not even it physically being there, but thinking about a spider being next to you, feeling something brush against your wrist or your arm. I have longer hair. Sometimes my hair brushes against my arm and I might swat at my arm thinking it might be a bug. I'm not afraid of spiders, but imagine if I was. I would probably be really freaked out. They say 3 to 15% of people have arachnophobia. Number 7, another well-known phobia, claustrophobia, which is the fear of small spaces. This one I could definitely say I am not claustrophobic, but I understand. Nobody wants to be in a small space. Nobody wants to feel like they're locked in a box. I mean, just think of prisoners, people in jail that are in these very small cells. Imagine being claustrophobic and being locked up in prison. It's got to drive you crazy. Some of the things or places that could trigger claustrophobia are planes, trains, cars, tunnels, caves, even small office spaces. Anything like that can trigger claustrophobia. What does claustrophobia feel like? Imagine being in a room that just continues to get smaller and smaller and smaller until you feel like you have no space. You can't even stretch your arms out. Even though it's not physically happening, that's what the person is seeing in their brain. That's how they're feeling. They say claustrophobia is more common in females than males, but anyone can be claustrophobic at any age. But at most times, it is started in childhood. Number 6, theophobia. This is the fear of driving cars. I fully can understand. I'm not afraid of driving a car because I have a vehicle and I've been driving cars since probably about 15 years old. But I have also been in situations where I've had close calls or I've been in other people's vehicles and have been in accidents. That's a very scary thing, especially depending on what vehicle hits you or how fast you're driving. So I understand that there could be a fear of driving cars. Most people that have fear of driving a car are people that have either witnessed really bad accidents or who have been in very bad accidents. When they get in a car, those nerves come back, that fear comes back, that memory comes back. So this would explain why someone would be afraid of driving a vehicle. But I also wouldn't consider this fear to be irrational. Thousands of people die every year in car accidents. Number 5, nosophobia. Now this one, I can admit, never heard of this. Never been mentioned, never thought of it. But now that I understand what it is, which is fear of disease, it makes sense. I mean, think about COVID. When COVID was going on, everybody was scared. Everybody was fearful of catching COVID. Everybody was wearing masks. Everybody was keeping a distance, doing what the CDC was saying, because everyone was afraid. Nobody wanted to catch it. People were dying. Some people were just getting sick, like a bad cold or the flu, but still nobody wanted to catch it. So I understand nosophobia. I'm pretty sure a lot of people during COVID ended up having nosophobia and they might still have it. They say it's kind of hard to tell how many people or what percentage of people have nosophobia, but it is considered that after COVID-19, more people probably ended up having nosophobia. Nosophobia is more specific, different than a hypochondria or a hypochondriac. With nosophobia, it's a fear of a specific disease, not just fear of any and all disease, but a specific one. Number 4, thanadophobia. Again, this is another one, never heard this term before, never heard of this phobia. Well, actually, I've heard of the phobia, just not by that name. And what this is the fear of death. Thanadophobia isn't specific to one's personal fear of death or the way of dying. It also can extend to worrying about someone else's death or way of dying. I would say that thanadophobia is a natural thing. I think all human beings have at least a certain level of fear of death. It might not be something that you wake up thinking about, oh, am I going to die today? Or go to sleep thinking about, am I going to die in my sleep? I think it's more so that we're always trying to look forward to our future and always trying to plan our future. But we also understand that that future that we're planning for, or that day, or that date, or that month, or that year that we're excited about, we may never see it. Number 3, phobia. And this is a fear of failure. This phobia may cause you to not attempt to do things or to put off things because you're afraid that you'll fail at it. Say you're in sports and there's a big game and you decide not to show up because you're afraid you'll lose the game. Or you have a big test and you know you studied hard for it, stayed up all night working on it, but you're so afraid that you'll fail that you don't even show up to take the test. Me personally, I think I have a slight bit of this phobia. I will say I've achieved a lot of things in life, and I will say I've failed a lot of things in life, and I've tried a lot of things, put my best foot forward. I will say sometimes I procrastinate on things because I'm worried that it won't turn out as well as I wanted to. Even with this YouTube, with this channel, sometimes I've put off videos, or I had an idea for something, but then I scrapped it and did something else because I was afraid or I was worried that it wouldn't be well received. Phobia and perfectionism are very similar, but not the same. With perfectionism, you're working harder and harder to be flawless. You want no kinks. You want no mistakes. You want no errors. So you work really hard to reach that perfection. But with phobia, it's more so you work hard, but you fall short because you don't continue or finish because you're so worried about failure. It's hard for studies to put a number or percent of people that might have this phobia, but it's more so something that many people have probably went in and out of. not so much of a lifelong phobia, but moments or times in life where that phobia might creep in depending on a situation. Oftentimes, this phobia is something that becomes a part of someone's life based off of either family history or learned behavior or other phobias that led to this. Number 2, trypophobia. Trypophobia brings on feelings of disgust or fear when you see patterns with lots of holes, like sunflowers, honeycombs, sponges, or seedy fruits. It can cause a negative response. Trypophobia is a type of anxiety disorder. How common is trypophobia? Well, some studies suggest that as many as 17% of children and adults have some degree of trypophobia. Number 1, social anxiety disorder or social phobia. Social anxiety disorder is a medical condition that causes fear and anxiety when you're around people in social situations. People with social anxiety fear being judged or watched by others. If you have social anxiety disorder, these are some of the situations that will raise that anxiety. Meeting new people, performing in front of people, talking or making phone calls, using public restrooms, asking for help, dating. Social anxiety disorder is fairly common, and most people start experiencing the symptoms before age 20. Thank you for joining me, Scripps of Classic Kills Top 10. I hope you enjoyed today's episode about the top 10 phobias. If you have a phobia, or if you know someone with a phobia, without getting too personal or anything, let me know. Let me know the interactions you have or what you might do in your own personal life to fight your phobias. So until next time, you guys have a good day, a good life, and peace.